Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion on the best mid lane champions for patch 6.5, and this list is probably still going to be valid for 6.6, as it doesn't look like there's too many changes to mid lane champions for this upcoming patch. So first on my list is going to be Corki. I really like Corki for mid lane because he can utilize the package really well. Once you do get your package, make sure that you look for a roam either top or bot, or if you are winning your lane, just look to straight up go back to your lane and kill the enemy mid laner. You do want to make sure you are taking advantage of this because you can definitely get a nice snowball going in the early game if you can utilize your package correctly. I also like him because he's got a really good mid-game power spike. He's one of the best mid-game champions in the game because the Trinity Force just synergizes so well with him. He also does have pretty good poke with his Q and his ultimate. He's got the gap closer on his W, which makes him a very safe laner and a very safe champion. And he is also a very bursty champion too. One con to Corki though is that he is a pretty skill shot reliant champion with his ultimate and his Q. Next on my list is going to be Twisted Fate. So in my opinion, TF is a great champion if you can utilize his ultimate correctly. I feel that the main difference between an average TF and a really good TF is that an average TF won't be able to get any good ultimates off in the early game, and he won't be able to get a snowball going, whereas a really good TF player, he'll get a nice snowball going in the early game, he'll get a double kill down bot lane, or he'll at least utilize his ultimate correctly. So I feel like if you haven't played a lot of TF, practice him in normal games before heading into ranked. He's not one of those champions where you can just jump right into ranked with and do well, in my opinion. I think that he does take a little bit more time to learn to be successful on him. He does have very good wave clear though with his Q and with his red card. He's one of the better tower pushing mid laners in the game too, due to his blue card. He's a pretty safe laner as well. If you are in a harder matchup as TF, then you can just sit back and farm with your Q. If you are going up against an assassin as well, then taking exhaust against that matchup or in that matchup is not a bad idea at all. And he does have pretty good one-shot potential late game as well on the enemy squishies. A few cons to TF though is that he does not have any mobility, so you do have to be careful about your positioning on him, and in my opinion he is a bit harder to play than some of the other mid lane champions. Next on my list I have Zed. So in my opinion Zed is the best assassin in the game right now. With Talon getting that nerf to his ultimate last patch, I do think that Zed is a little bit stronger than him right now. He's got a really strong early to mid game, and he can get a snowball going really hard once he does hit level 6. A lot of mid lane champions that are being played right now, Zed does pretty well against them, like Lux and Ahri. So if the enemy team does lock those champions, then I would recommend playing Zed in that matchup, because as long as you can dodge their skill shots, say if Lux throws out her binding and misses it, then that's your chance to just go in and assassinate her. And a lot of the time you can do that when you are playing as Zed, as long as you do know how to play him correctly. He's a good roaming champion too. He's got the gap closer on his W, and then he's got his ultimate too, so it just allows him to roam pretty nicely. His ult does allow him to tower dive as well, so if you are going for a roam and the enemy is low under their tower, then you don't really have to worry about taking a few tower shots because you do have your ultimate, and you can just blink back to it once you have killed your opponent. He does also have pretty good mobility with his W, and he is one of the stronger split pushing champions in the game if he does get a lead. And a few cons to Zed though are that he is a bit weaker in the late game, since if the enemy starts picking up QSS and Zhonya's, then it really does limit the amount of target Zed can use his ultimate on, and he is also a bit harder to play in my opinion than some of the other mid lane champions. Next up is going to be Ahri. So Ahri has stayed a very consistently strong mid lane pick for quite some time now, and it's really no surprise because she does have one of the stronger kits for any mid lane champion for solo queue. Her ultimate just provides really good mobility, she's got good pick potential with her charm, and then she's also got good burst damage, so those three factors just make her a great solo queue champion. She's got pretty good wave clear too with her Q and her W. She is one of the safer laning champions in the game too. If she is in a harder matchup, then she can farm with her Q if need be. She does have a very strong level 6 all-in as well. She's a great pick against any skill shot reliant mid lane champion, because if they miss their skill shot, that's your time to go in with Ahri, and as long as you can land your charm on the opponent, then you're pretty much guaranteed to burn their flash, and if you have a few charges of your ultimate left, then you can pick up the kill most of the time. She's also a great roaming champion because of her ultimate and her charm. Her sustain in the laning phase is also quite nice with her passive, and she does have that true damage on her Q, so that's just another nice little bonus to her kit. And one con to Ahri though is that she is a pretty skill shot reliant champion with her Q and with her charm. And to round out my top 5 for this patch, I have Lux. So Lux is just a really safe, consistent mid lane pick. She really doesn't have any hard counters in the laning phase. If she is in a harder matchup, then she can sit back, farm with her E if she needs to. She's got great poke in the laning phase, so she is a really good pick against any melee pick in the game. She also does have really good crowd control with her Q and with her E, which makes her a very strong pick against immobile enemy team comps because it'll just allow her to easily line up those skill shots, hit her crowd control, and then deal a lot of AoE damage after that. She does have the AoE shield with her W2, so that just allows her to keep her teammates really healthy in team fights, and it allows her to trade really nicely in the laning phase. She does have a really long range ultimate and a very low cooldown ultimate too, so when you are playing as Lux, never be afraid to use your ultimate to just wave clear or to chunk the enemy AD carry or enemy mid laner down in a late game team fight because it will do a lot of damage. She does also have a very strong AoE kit. Her Q, her E, and her ultimate all do AoE damage, so let's say if you see the whole enemy team grouped up in a team fight, then just use your ultimate right there to chunk them down. Don't wait to use your ultimate till they get low. If you see them grouped up and you can get a lot of AoE damage off, then definitely look to take advantage of that. And a few cons to Lux though are that she isn't the best against assassins since she does not have a gap closer, and her E also does not one-shot the wave. So first up on my honorable mentions, I have LeBlanc. LeBlanc is a very snowbally mid lane champion. You do need to get a lead in the early game as LeBlanc to be successful on her. I find when I play her, if I don't get a kill in the early game as her, then I'm not going to be as effective as some of the other strong AoE teamfight mid laners like Corki or Ahri and Lux. So if you know how to play LeBlanc correctly and you can take advantage of her early game, then she can definitely be a great pick for solo queue. Next up is going to be Fizz. So Fizz is also a pretty strong assassin right now. I would definitely recommend picking him if the enemy team does lock a immobile mid lane champion like a Lux or a Twisted Fate. He can do really well in those matchups because he can dodge their key abilities like the Lux Bind and the Twisted Fate gold card, and he can get a nice snowball going once he does hit level 6. He's also a pretty strong roaming champion, and he's just such an annoying champion to deal with because of his E, so if you are looking for another good assassin, then I would play Fizz. Next up is going to be Vel'Koz. So Vel'Koz does have a very similar kit to Lux. He does have one of the higher win rates actually for any of the mid lane champions in the game right now. So if you are looking for a champion who's got good wave clear, good AoE damage, then I would play Vel'Koz. Next up is going to be Yasuo. Right now, Yasuo is a pretty good pick in this meta. We're seeing a lot of Lux being played, a lot of Ahri, so Yasuo does pretty good in those matchups because he can wind wall their main abilities. So if you are a good Yasuo player and you can use your wind wall correctly, then he can be a pretty strong pick right now. Next up is going to be Orianna. So Orianna is a champion who is a bit harder to play than some of the other mid lane picks, but if you have a general idea of how to play her correctly and you can use your ball in the right situations, you can keep track of that in team fights, she can be a very successful champion. She's one of the safer mid lane picks in the game because she does have her shield, which allows her to trade really nicely in the laning phase, and she really doesn't have a lot of hard matchups. So as long as you have a general idea of how to play Orianna, then you can do really well on her. And to round out the honorable mentions for this patch, I have Anivia. So Anivia is a very good control mage champion. She doesn't have very many hard matchups in the laning phase either, like Orianna, because she does have her egg. So she's basically got 2 lives in the laning phase, and as long as she doesn't mess up terribly, then she should be able to sustain the laning phase and just farm up, get her tier, scale into the mid to late game, and then start dealing a lot of damage. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. If you did enjoy, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have not already. So thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.